Thanks for your patience, everybody. Sorry. You're good, Jenny? Everything good?
You have a guess.
Whatever works. Whatever works. Okay. A second. Everyone, thank you for coming. All right, I want to learn about something that is so close to my heart. I know it's close to everyone's hearts. I know that it's something that we spend so much of our time wondering if we nailed it, if we did it right. Even if we did our best, there's no such thing as our best, because certain things is in the davar sof. And obviously what we're talking about is, what are we giving over to our children, what we want to give over to them. She's going to sleep? Yes. HaShem. I think it's a very emotional night to speak about what we're going to talk about tonight, because tonight's our youngest birthday. Tonight's Liba's birthday. In 2 days is Tiferet's birthday, her 9th birthday. And my mother's Jesus' birthday was today. My father, the English birthday. I saw you looking like the English birthday was today. My father's English birthday is in a few days. So it's all these generations, which is actually what this is about. You know, when we talk about Sefer Bereshit, we know that like basically Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, right? Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. But it's only for a few psukim that all three of them are alive at the same time. And that is the beginning of our parsha, of Parshat Toldot. It's the only time, the beginning in Rishon, and it's only for a few psukim. Because right after Yaakov and Esav are born, that's it. We know the next thing is the Shiva house for Avraham Avinu. So it's really just, we have Avraham, Yitzchak, we have these three generations alive together for just a few moments,
Shem was still alive.
Sorry?
Shem was still alive. Or Aver was still alive.
Could be, but I'm talking about Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. These a Saba, an Abba, and a Neched. That's who we have. And the Kedusha of the family, you know, it says, we say in Uvalet Zion, Lo yamushu mipicha, mipi zaracha, umipi zera zaracha ad olam. That's three generations. There was 1 year we learned, I forget which Rebbe it was, that was very makpid, that when to be with his son and his grandson, Parshat Toldot. And that he made sure that his son and his grandson gave over Torah. It was very beautiful in the shul this morning, seeing three generations. We had a Bachur Bar Mitzvah who became Bar Mitzvah yesterday, who got his first Aliyah, their son. I got an Aliyah today, and it was his grandfather did Psicha. You couldn't give, they're all Avim, so you can't give, right? So the grandfather did Psicha, the son was the Baal Kore and got Levi, and the father did Hagba. I was thinking about it today, the three generations. It's a very special thing for many of us. We didn't have that luxury. I didn't have, on one side of my family, I didn't have that. I'm named after my grandfather. And in the generation before me, because the Holocaust, bichlal, what's there to even talk about? To have three generations together, lo yaka davar nezeh. It's very, very rare. But what we want to talk about tonight is something that is, like we said before, it's something very sensitive. It's something that we're very, very, very emotional about most of the time, where we spend so much time wondering, did we give it over to our kinderlach or not? Did they get it? And then spending time trying to define the word it. What was it that I was trying to give over to my children, right? How do I let my children know who they are? Especially if I have no idea who I am. How am I going to let them know who they are? Or who they could be? Or what they could be? You're letting her know who she could be right now.
Maybe they didn't get it. It's bad though.
So let's just learn it from the outside for a second, and we'll go into the inside. There's something that's called, there's a holiness that each of us have that's called Kdushat HaShoresh. The holiness of just the shoresh, just by me being born, I have a holiness within me. And no one can touch that, and no one can take it away. It might shine less and shine more, but me etzem zeh, that I'm born a Yid, that I'm born Jewish, I have it. Avram didn't have that. Yitzchak is the first Jewish baby born to have that, right? Avram didn't have it. That's Kedushas HaShoresh. Then there's something that's called Kedushas HaAvoda, which means the holiness that I have to work on. And the more I work on it, the more that I become more of it. The less I work, meaning the more mitzvahs I do, the more that holiness shines. The less mitzvahs that I do, the less I have that holiness. So there's two different worlds here. Kedushat HaShoresh and Kedushat HaAvoda. If we had to take that to just a little bit more basic terms, how do you tell that to your child? You have Kedushas HaShoresh or you have Kedushas HaAvoda. Kedushas HaAvoda, you tell them first, because you don't want them to bank on Kedushas HaShoresh. Meaning what? If you tell them, listen, you're holy whether you like it or not, you're born a Yid, you're just holy, right? Then they'll be like, whatever, I could just bank on that the rest of my life, right? I have that. Kedushas HaAvoda is the work. Avraham Avinu, it says, Yahaloch v'nasah hanegba. He'd go up and down. He was traveling. When he was born, who was Avraham Avinu? Terach's son? What do we know about Avraham Avinu? In fact, the Divrei Chaim says, I think it was the Tzanzer Rebbe, says that Avraham Avinu was actually, we learned this once, he was the stingiest person in the world. Avraham Avinu, the stingiest person in the world? Wasn't he the biggest machnis orchim, biggest gomel chesed? It's like, yeah, he became the biggest gomel chesed. But the Torah wants us, is everything okay?
You'll see.
But the Torah wants us to really connect very deep into what we can be. And we have to learn from people that worked on themselves, not people that were given anything on a magash kesef. So that's why Avraham Avinu Dafka had to be such a stingy person to show us who you could become. That's the level, that's Kedusha Savoda. But Reb Nachman says an amazing thing. When Yitzchak Avinu was born, so why is he named Yitzchak? You know when you can't believe something's actually happening, what do you usually do? You start laughing, right? So what couldn't the world believe that was actually happening? That you could be born with inherent Kedusha. That never happened before, Reb Nachman says. There was no such thing. A baby was born, they're cute, they're sweet, but until they make something out of themselves, there's nothing in them. We look at a Jewish baby today, born 8 days old. We treat the baby 8 days for a man, 8 days for a girl, it's right away. Meaning, it's not this Indian of let's see how hard they work on themselves to see if they're holy or not. There is intrinsic holiness in the baby. That's what's called Kedushas HaShoresh, the holiness of within the source. Then there's Kedushas HaAvoda. Now, even if you're born with Kedushas HaShoresh, it still doesn't pata you, doesn't exempt you from trying to give over to your child also the level of avoda, of what they need to be. Because in our lives, we don't just bank on the fact that we were born Jewish. We have to work so hard to extract whatever is inside of me, the kochos that are inside of me. What kind of a parent doesn't want to excel in both? Not just do good, excel in both. How do you excel in both? Well, on the one hand, how do you excel in giving over to your child Kedushas HaShoresh? What's your Shabbos table like? Simple. Just look at your Shabbos table. Start from there. Start from there. What's your Shabbos? Shabbos is menucha, it's not avoda. It's not Kedushas HaAvoda necessarily. What's your Shabbos table like? And other things of that sort as well. You want to give over to your child. Just to show them what they already have. And the Kedushas HaAvoda is how do you show your child who they could be, what they could be. How do you talk to your child with Einei Mashiach of who they could become? These are stuff, as I'm speaking about very deep in Yanim, these are stuff is really worth, at least 25,000. He's supposed to do sessions to really begin to discover, how do you even begin to do such things? But in our hearts, not only do we wish we could do that, we wish someone did it for us. Sometimes we're lucky. I'm not going to go on this bashing, this rebellious bash of no one did it for us, so how do we know how to do it for somebody else? It's not true. Some of us were privileged that it was done for us, or it's being done for us, it's being shown to us. The holiness which already exists, Kedushas HaShoresh and Kedushas HaAvoda. But that's basically the outline of what we're going to be learning tonight from Rabbi Shlomo. Just wanted to give that introduction so that we can make it sound a little bit more down in this world. I had the privilege of transcribing this a few hours ago. If any of you know Rabbi Mickey Moshe Shur, this was in his house, November 24th, 1979.
Is that now?
Yeah. It reached everybody? Okay. When Yaakov and Esav were born, the craziest thing happened. Since Esav was also involved in that birth, Yaakov did not get the holiness of what we call Kedushas HaShoresh by the mere fact of being born. That's a big shocker over here. What did he just say? What happened the generation before Yitzchak for Yaakov and Esav? What was Kiviyachol established in the world? That a baby can be born with inherent kedusha, within kedusha shoresh, and it was given over to him just by being born. But because Esav, we know is the Sitra Achra, he's the other side, because he was with Yaakov when he came into the world, according to the Sifrei Kabbalah, that Kedusha shoresh was not given over to Yaakov. Is that a shocker?
Yeah.
Big time. Because you think...
It had just started.
Huh?
It had just started.
It had just started. And, slicha, Yaakov ishtam yoshev alim. I mean, how far could you go? Yaakov Avinu is based on, if we had to write a little biographical sketch at the beginning of Yaakov Avinu's life, I mean, come on. Is there anybody holier than Yaakov Avinu? But yet, we're learning based on this that he wasn't dafka operating from Kedushas HaShoresh. There was something else going on with him. He began Kedushas and Avoda from a young age.
What is it about being in the womb with someone else that can take away your Kedusha shoresh?
I don't know if it took it away. I think that it basically blocked. I don't think he had it and it was taken away. I think that he somehow, that Sitra Achra, blocked the access that happens either at time of conception, I don't know, or birth. I don't know. I have no idea when it happens. But we know that in the Alter Rebbe speaks about this in the Tanya, when he speaks about the Nefesh Elokis, Nefesh Bahamis, his reference is, the struggle happens already back then. Something about the struggle, this is all based on Rabbi Nachman, something about the struggle blocked this inyan of Kedushas HaShoresh, and is throughout his whole life, Yaakov Avinu is waiting for the moment of when it's going to happen to him as well.
Are we saying that Esav was born a Rasha?
I don't know if we're saying it, but Rashi is for sure saying that.
And what complaint can we have against him? He
tshuvah
grew up to be what he was created to be.
True. Yeah, I have no idea what to say to you. But this is not like this no chiddush in what we just said. We learned this from a very, what does it mean that when she went by shuls and batei midrash, Yaakov Avinu was trying to get out, and when she passed by the bad places, Esav wanted to get out? What are we saying about Esav?
Well, I can tell you what the Rebbe said about it.
You could tell me what the Rebbe says? I'm much more interested in what Jack and I want to say about it.
I have no opinion of my own. I don't know enough to have opinions about things. I'm certainly not. It's not that I have an opinion.
Well, you have an opinion that the Rebbe's opinion is right.
I have an opinion of the Rebbe's opinion. I'm sure he's right. Okay.
Me too, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I certainly can't prove it.
We know this when we have the word vayitro, and Rashi brings us to the Midrash. That's how we know how to work like this, bichlal. This is not our chiddush. We didn't make this up right now.
No, it's in the book.
And Esav himself throughout Chazal is shown as that clogger, the sotem, the one that blocks off light from coming into the world.
So, is this
Did I miss something else? Because I thought I understood Kedushat HaShoresh is inherent in being born.
Right, that's what I thought too.
Okay.
You're right. That's why it's so confusing. Yaakov, and like Wendy said,
Even Esav doesn't lose Kedushat HaShoresh.
You'd think so.
Well, or we have to redefine Kedushat HaShoresh.
Which is what this Torah will be. But it explains now why Rivka was freaking out. Because she's under the assumption, I married someone with Kedushas HaShoresh, I'm carrying his children, Vatelech Lidrosh et HaShem. Rabbi Shlomo says, that's what she was trying to understand. What in the world is going on here? I thought, once it happened to Yitzchak, it's a done deal. That was her question. Vatomer im ken lama ze anochi vatelech lidrosh et Hashem. She goes and starts crying and saying, what in the world is going on? I don't in other words, I thought I married a nice, good Jewish boy, and what happened? Our children, I sent them to all the right yeshivas and everything, I gave them Shabbos, how come they're not interested? That kind of all the guarantees were there, and it didn't end up working out the way that I thought it would be. She sensed this already in the beginning. Rivka, come on, Rivka, yeah, she sees from one corner of the world to the next, yeah.
No, I was just asking, being the mother of twins,
not easy to birth.
Did you refer to one of them as Esav
Well,
growing
no,
up?
I just mean, you initially when you started this conversation, you said that Esav blocked the Kedusha shoresh from Jacob, and I just wondered if that was like something that happens in twin birth.
Oh no, I hope not.
Oh,
I pray.
okay.
Reb Shlomo himself was a twin. You know? I hope not. No. Anybody else twins that needs to work through this? No, I realize this is this is a very deep thing.
Therapy session.
No, we can work
me
through this
after.
stuff. It's we'll talk after shit. That's fine. So again, since Esav was also involved in that birth, Yaakov did not get the holiness of what we call Kedushas HaShoresh by the mere fact of being born, because Esav was involved. By the way, we see Esav, just by him being involved, causing a lot of machlokas throughout his life. For instance, after Yosef meets Esav for the first time, you remember where that was?
Yeah.
Where did he meet him? When they were crossing in Vayishlach, right? When they were crossing back into Eretz Yisrael.
Right.
So the parsha, what's the next parsha? Yosef and his brothers start fighting. Chazal are trying to understand, how did this happen? Anywhere that Esav gets a negia in, he causes machlokas. Anywhere that Esav gets a touch on, he causes a perud. Okay. Just reminding you, Kotzker Rebbe said, Esav looked like this. Esav didn't look like a Rasha. Evil that's easy to detect is not real dangerous evil. Evil that's hard to detect is the worst kind of evil in the world. The Kotzker Rebbe says Esav wore a shtraimel and a kapata. So that's what made him Esav. That's what made it so difficult. Okay. So he continues. Why was Rivka going Lidrosh es HaShem? Why did she think something was wrong? She assumed that since she's having children from Yitzchak, that whatever they may end up doing, eventually the holiness which they are born with will get to them. Meaning, she was certain that no matter what, it'll reach the... Why? Because of Kedushas HaShoresh. Now maybe Rivka, her biggest taina on God was something else. What could have been her taina? How could it be that I'm carrying someone that is so, after everything I've been through and what I left, my father's house, how could it be that I'm carrying someone like this? Or maybe she started thinking, maybe it's because I came from where I came, I could be carrying someone like Esav, and start doubting her own righteousness or self-worth. I just got off the mamish a second before Shir, talking to a buddy of mine who's engaged, and he has this, it's a long engagement. He's having a very long struggle regarding self-worth, and it's driving him crazy. It's a very big sugya. Self-worth. Am I worthy of the brachos that are around me in my life? That could be a very heavy thing. So much is happening here with Rivka. And this was just the first paragraph, what we just did. Okay? So let's try to move forward. When did Yaakov receive from Yitzchak the holiness of the shoresh, that holiness which nobody can take away? So Yitzchak thought that if he blesses Esav and gives him over this holiness, he'll do tshuvah. That's how we understand Yitzchak's love for Esav. He basically felt he just needs a bracha to get into shape. That's all he needs. Esav is so bad because nebech, he doesn't have this holiness that I have from my father Avraham Avinu. That's what Yitzchak thought to himself, right? If only he had the kedusha that I have from my father, everything will be okay. If I give it over to him, he'll shine. Now he says an important thing here. But you know something, friends? The holiness which you get when you're born is only deep inside until it comes out and appears in your life. Do you understand? You can have kedushas hashoresh, but many people have kedushas hashoresh. They're born Yidden, and we see it doesn't seem to have any effect on their life. It's almost like kedushas avoda brings out kedushas hashoresh. Right? That's what it seems like he's saying here. Not clear. I didn't really work through it yet thoroughly, but this is what it seems to be. You could be born with all the holiness in the world, and it could be lying deep, deep inside of you. But until you do something to cause it to shine, it's just shluffing. It's inside of you. Maybe it's what the Alter Rebbe refers to as ahava hamesuteres. That means like the embedded love that's schluffing until you wake it up. But it's there. Maybe that's what it means, Ava b'shoresh. But Rabbi Shlomo says, if you don't want to serve God, what do you need it for? Meaning, what do you need to do? If your inyan in life has nothing to do with avodas Hashem, do you care if you have Kedushas HaShoresh or not? Does it matter to you? Does it make a difference in your life? Esav doesn't need that holiness. He's doing everything he can to drive out that holiness from the world. He doesn't want to be holy. And Rivka is the one who knows this, meaning Yitzchak and Rivka know the same thing. They know that he doesn't have Kedusha. Yitzchak and Rivka know this from a young age. So what's the difference between Yitzchak and Rivka, the relationship, the way they view Esav? Yitzchak thinks, if I just give him the bracha of Kedushas HaShoresh, which we understand that the brachas that he was referring to were the brachas of Kedushas HaShoresh, those brachas had to do with the root of it, without analyzing it too much to the depth. Yitzchak thought, if he gets this, he'll be fine. Rivka says, even if he gets this, he could care less, and he'll be wasting the Kedusha of the shoresh on the wrong channel. It's almost like to say, he couldn't give the bracha of Kedushas HaShoresh to both. It could only be given to one. And Rivka sees, you're going to give it to the wrong person, because he's going to get it, and it'll be schluffing by him his whole life. Why? Because he'll never do a vaida to extract that out. He'll never try to arouse it. He'll never try to awaken it. So Rivka hears this, and she says, I got to do whatever I need to do to make sure that this bracha, called Kedushas HaShoresh, should go to the right channel, to the person who is already working so hard on himself. Who's that? Yaakov Avinu. Beseder? Any questions, Atkan? I'm sure you do. You don't have any questions?
Not a question.
I'm sure, please. Yeah.
No, I don't know if you can answer them. I just don't understand why. Again.
Oh, I definitely can't explain the answers of like how this works.
Right.
No. This is just, I know what you mean. At a certain point, it's almost like we're learning terminology. We're learning this whole new vocabulary of definitions, like Kabbalistic definitions of what certain holinesses are like, who got them, who didn't get them, and it's like, and from there we take their word from it and start driving.
Right, but it's like it's inborn, but then you give it after birth only in this instance. It's able to be given over by an individual as a, I don't know.
Meaning that if it wasn't Esav being involved in the act of birth, of conception, then we wouldn't have this discussion. Why? Because it would just be there.
It would be born into it.
Yeah, it'd be born into it. Yeah.
This kind of does answer the question of why there wasn't two blessings, in a way, because this blessing.
Very good.
This blessing had such a kedusha.
Very good.
That.
Yeah. Stay with that, okay?
Okay.
It might stay with that. Okay, so Yitzchak thought of blessing Esav with Kedushas Ha'avoda in the beginning. Why? He changes his mind, right? But in the beginning, he thought of blessing Esav with Kedushas Ha'avoda. He thought that since Yaakov is serving God, that should be anyway, he doesn't need my blessings. I'll give it to Esav. So what do we sing over here? We're changing it a little bit, okay? What bracha ended up being in the world? Kedushas HaShoresh. What did Yitzchak think Esav needs? Kedushas HaAvoda. Why? Yaakov already has Kedushas HaAvoda. It's not something he needs. This is for Esav. This is what he needs. He needs to arouse himself a little bit, and that'll be enough for him to make it. Yitzchak Avinu ends up giving a bracha that he himself wasn't even aware of. And that's the point of tonight's shir. I want to pause for a second outside the text. With all our parenting expertise and all our actually that doesn't sound right, planned parenting, but you know what I mean. With all our planned chinuch, is that a better word? All our planned education and all the plans we have, thinking, this is what my child needs and this will validate me as a good parent. You and I know, those of us that are privileged to be parents, and Be'ezer Hashem, some of us and our children will be parents in the right time. We know that the moments that get to us the most are the ones that shock us, that we weren't prepared for, that we could never possibly be prepared for. when we are able to literally have nevuah driven out from our being, not because we're such tzaddikim, but because the holiness of our children is in our midst and they drag it out of us. This, what we're going to learn now, is so mind-bogglingly deep, because that's basically the story of Parshas Toldot. Yitzchak's under the impression that Esav needs a certain type of bracha. We don't even know if he thinks that Yaakov needs a bracha. Not only did Esav not even need the bracha, because he wasn't going to do anything with it anyway, the type of bracha was changed from avoda to shoresh, and the person it was given to was also changed. Why? Because of something about the appearance of Yaakov Avinu in that room. Meaning to say that sometimes if we're conscious enough, if we're holy enough, if we're refined enough, our children can shock us to the deepest depths. If we stop thinking we know them so well, and we know exactly how they act, how they respond, what they feel, what they don't feel. I know exactly what they need and what they don't need. HaShem Yisborach looks at a parent like that and says, you really don't need me if that's the situation. If you know all this already, call me when you need me. More or less. But we have moments when we're blown to wait, that all our chinuch, everything we thought, anything we could have imagined, that we know to be true, essential, and right. And our children humble us. They humble us, and then we realize, this is what you had. Okay. This is what you really had in mind with the whole thing of parents and children. It's completely not this control thing of, I have a shita, this is how it is, this is what they need, and then we just continue digging that deeper. It's so much deeper when we're humbled by our children. But what does it take in order to be humbled by our children? What do you need in order to create a life where you could be humbled by your own children?
Open yourself up to it.
Your own humility.
How do you open yourself up to it? Notice it. Awareness. Let's dig a little bit deeper. What do you need in order to have this awareness that...
Patience.
Sorry?
Patience.
Patience for who?
Your own patience.
For yourself. Patience for yourself. What else?
You need to be humble yourself.
Your own humility.
You mamish have shiftless. Mamash, you have got to be absolutely.
Unconditional love
Unconditional love for?
towards your children.
Right. And you have to have it for yourself too. But, because if you don't have it for yourself, you're not going to give it to your child. It's
Let go
not.
of the outcome.
So that's a very deep one. That's a very deep one. I'd say let go of the income even, that's, meaning at a certain point you have to just let them, it sounds crazy what I'm going to say, but at a certain point, and it doesn't necessarily happen consciously, you give them the lead at certain points. At certain points this happens. And it definitely happened over here in our parsha. And now we're going to see where he takes this. This is so beautiful.
Question.
Yeah.
The idea that Esav doesn't need holiness, is that just because Esav is Esav? Is that something that's carried for the generations, or is that just because Esav is Esav?
Meaning, and his generation, and his nation called Edom. Is that what you're asking?
Right, meaning
the nation of Edom.
Do we ever think that our children don't have Kedusha HaShoreh?
Mm-hmm. I can't tell you what people think about their children.
No, but
I want to understand your question a bit better. Are you saying...
What I want to know is Esav the one of? Is his...
Or as opposed to? An example.
Right. Something that might happen throughout.
Is he the exception or the rule?
Could I even expand on that?
Yeah, please.
What I'm curious about, or not curious about, but concerned about, is that we can look at this and look at chas v'chalila at our children or our grandchildren and say he's a lost
Oh, no. After this, it's done. in Am Yisrael.
So that's
This was the bir. If I understand now, after this, and this was a birur that needed to be done for Am Yisrael. After this, how do we refer to Yaakov Avinu with all the tsaras that he had from his children? They're in. Mitato shlema, we refer to Yaakov Avinu with all the tsaras that he had. If I understand you correctly, it was just Esav, that birur, which means sifting, that clarification, was done through him. The Gamarno after that. Okay? I mean, some people were really like close seconds over the years. They tried really hard to manage have Chasidus Esav to restart the whole thing again, but nah, we believe in the shoresh neshama of things that it's not like that anymore. Yeah. By the way, when it comes to Gerim, what do we say? They're not born with Kedushas HaShoresh, are they?
Good question.
Good question. What do you think? Huh?
Sort of.
What do you think the shita is when we refer to Gerim that, because we're saying over here they weren't born with it, right? So what is the emes? What do we say about them? They absolutely always had it. Had to go through what they had to go through to just come back and be themselves. That's what we say, just to make that clear.
But the person that comes out of the mikveh is not the same person who went in.
Nachon, he's a big Baal guy, but thinking that now he's old.
John Doe went in, Plony came out. John Doe he's gone forever.
But John Doe was never, we believe that John Doe was never the real them.
He was Plony Almoni from the beginning.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Well, because
Yes,
there was some
absolutely.
Pintele Yid in there.
Absolutely, because we say, Rabbi Akiva, there's a lot of Torahs like this. There's a lot of Torahs like that. I just want to make the distinction between that and Esav and this birur that you're referring to, which it was just done through Esav Gamarnu. From then, anyone that's a Yid and anyone that becomes a Yid has this. Okay? As much as they want to try to bury it, it's there. Lo yazo. Doesn't matter. Okay. I want you to know something very, very deep. Avraham Avinu is serving God, by loving people. That's chesed. Yitzchak is strength. He's gvura. And this is all very beautiful, but there's something deeper than all this, much deeper than all this. These are all manifestations of how and what to serve God. But lemala min amidas, Ribbono Shel Olam is deeper than all this, than just chesed or gevura. Like Avram was a certain midah, Yitzchak was a certain midah. What's Yaakov? What is Yaakov? What's Tiferet?
It's like a combination of the two.
Aren't you either one or the other? Why wasn't Avram? Why wasn't Yitzchak? There's something about the avoda of Yaakov Avinu that took him to a place that's even the mala min amidot, where it's more. Tiferet is a combination of two things. It's not really its own midah. It's lemala min midot yichudiyot, meaning it's lemala than just simple definitions of who you are. Yaakov Avinu worked on himself so hard that he went above and beyond just like not little, but singular definitions. Well, he's going to explain in a second. When someone says God is love or God is light, it's true. But it's also deeper than all this. It's deeper than all. Suddenly, when Yaakov stood before Yitzchak, and all Yitzchak, by the way, until then knew that there's two ways of serving God. Right? What did Yitzchak know of? Which two ways did Yitzchak know that existed in this world? You either serve God through chesed or gevura. He didn't even think that there's another level. He didn't even think about it. It was just this or that. Just like we think with parenting. You either do this or you do that. And then you meet child number 2. or sometimes child number 1, right? But usually child number 2, right? And what does child number 2 draw out of you? You thought it was only this or that. I'm going to show you here how you have to go much deeper than what you thought, just this or just that. And it continues more and more, right? What does Yaakov, I'm trying to take something so high and bring it down. What does Yaakov show Yitzchak? That it's possible to serve Hashem even deeper than what you thought. Now let's remember what happens. Yaakov walks into the room. What does Yitzchak say when Yaakov walks into the room?
That's the aroma of
Re'ei reach b'ni kereach hasadeh asher bercho Hashem. Which is already weird because he's talking about seeing a fragrance. Did you ever see a fragrance before? Re'ei reach b'ni. When else do we have the senses mixed up? Har Sinai, seeing voices. Here, it's seeing a smell. What do we explain?
He can't see.
What's that? And he can't even see anything. He's blind. But what is he referring to? Gan Eden. It was this fragrance of Gan Eden in the world, right? Let me ask you something, friends. When did we start wearing clothes in this world? When did we start putting on garments? What do we say about Yaakov Avinu? That Shufraya de Yaakov Avinu ke'ein Shufraya de Adam Rishon. Yaakov and Adam looked alike. They had the same face. The Zohar says. Yaakov Avinu goes back to the state of Adam before he sinned, before he needed levushim, before he needed garments. Tiferet, it's a midah, but it's really above midot. Midot being garments. You understand? It's a little bit out there, right? Meaning like, he feels, he's like, wait a second, I feel, Hayadayim Midei Esav, he has Esav's clothes on and everything, but he's like, no, he's just putting on, this is not the real, I don't know what's going on over here. There's garments in here, meaning there's midot, but there's something deeper than that. It smells like Gan Eden. It smells like the aura of a place before a person sins, when a person reaches the utmost perfection they can reach in this world. How did Yitzchak Avinu know what Gan Eden's taste smelled like? He had it on the Mizbeach, on the Akedah. Yitzchak reached that same place, right? When according to the Midrash, one of the opinions where Yitzchak Avinu stayed for 3 years after nearly being shechted was in Gan Eden. Yitzchak knows what Gan Eden smells like. He just couldn't imagine that there'd be another way of getting there than what he knew, either chesed or gvura. Here comes in his son and shows him, Abba, I hate to break it to you, but there's so much more. But it's only because Yitzchak was so humble that he was able to be humbled by his own son to show him there's a completely new derech in the world. And it's funny because we don't really refer the midah of anava. I wouldn't say about like that. Not that it wasn't by him, but I don't know how much it's spoken about regarding Yitzchak Avinu, right? Anava. Is it one of the midos like maybe Yaakov I would say shows up a bit more, but about Yitzchak, even though I'm sure he was anav, how could I say it wasn't? How could we say he wasn't anav? But you have to be anav to be blown away by your own child, and that's what happens to Yitzchak. Whoa. Gan Eden just walked into the room. What was Gan Eden like? When people didn't need definitions, they were higher than definitions. What is going on over here? Asher Bercho Hashem, I know this smell. I know what this is like. I thought the only way to get there is either this or this. How in the world? And remember the pasuk says, listen how deep this is, and I know, I'm sorry, I'm just very excited about this parsha. But I remember this whole Torah is that Yitzchak says to Yaakov, Madua ze miharta b'ni, right? He says to him, how did you get here so fast? Because according to the Pshat, he's under the assumption that Esav has to go out and hunt. Now he knows already Esav's timeline because Esav would do this for him all the time, so he was under the assumption of it'll take Esav a certain amount of time to go and get what I asked him for. Yaakov Avinu does it. Rivka makes the machalim very fast. She brings it to him. So according to the Pshat, Yitzchak's asking Yaakov, how did you? Yitzchak's asking Esav, how did you get back so fast? According to the Remez, Josh, and Sod, he knew who he was talking to. He's Yitzchak Avinu. So what does it mean when he says to him, Madua ze miharta b'ni? Meaning, how did you become so holy so fast? How did you reach this state of Gan Eden at such a young age? How could it be? Madua ze miharta b'ni? How did you become who you became so fast? Yitzchak was really wanted to understand, how is it possible to be this holy at such a young age? That's according to the sod of this parsha. I should have warned all of you. I should have warned all of you that we're not sticking to simple stuff tonight. But then no one would have. Then whatever.
I would have all stayed home.
I have a question. The separation in the womb, do you think that has to do with the fact that there had to be to constitute fabric combined later? Like there needed to be a
It
separation?
seems like it had to be. You know, I don't know. I can't say the answer, but it seems like there needed a certain process needed to happen in order to bring this new form of Gan Eden into the world, and that was probably this process. Yes, yeah. Okay, let's look at the fourth to bottom line. Suddenly, when Yaakov stood before Yitzchak realized that what I have to give over to Yaakov is not Kedushas HaAvoda, it's Kedushas HaShoresh, the depth of that holiness which cannot be destroyed, meaning once he saw who's in front of him, he said, this is now this bracha, this Kedushas HaShoresh, which will keep Yidden alive as Yidden for the rest of their lives, it has to go through here. It must be. This bracha needs to happen, and it can't go through anybody else. See, it's amazing. Yaakov Avinu basically pulled out from Yitzchak what to bless. I'm going to take it a step further. Were you ever in awe of what is going to come out from you on Friday night when you put your hands on your child? Or is it just like, this is what we do, brachas, this is what parents should do, v'chulei. So I'm just going to, disappoint all of you. And I've never done that before. For me, it's always been, this is what we do. I hopefully have certain kavanas. I've never stood there and be like, anticipating a Yaakov and Yitzchak moment of like, what's going to happen?
It's a difference between a BT and a life.
Right. A BT is constantly in that place of, right, I should have known that. But what we're saying over here is like, did you ever stand before the opportunity to bless your child and first say, what's in front of me, instead of, what do I know they need? That's a hard one. That's such a hard one. That's such a hard one. I already know what they need, so I already have my hands there. I already know what they need, right? Instead of, I have no idea what's even in front of me. I have no idea what's in front of me. That's Yitzchak and Yaakov. That's a moment of Kedushas HaShoresh. When you're humbled enough, your child can bring out of you what they really need, and they give you the opportunity to fix your own soul by doing that which you really wanted to do and had no idea how to do it unless humbling yourself before your child.
You also need emet. You need to trust.
Which is Yaakov's essential midah. Titan emes leYaakov. Yeah. Now listen. This is going to develop this a bit more. Yitzchak did not know to whom to give the blessings, right? So when Yaakov walked in, he mamish knew the blessing belonged to Yaakov. Now, how did he know? At what moment did he know the blessing mamish belonged to Yaakov? So until now, we said it was a fragrance, and he noticed something was different. But here, according to the Sanzer Rebbe, it didn't happen the moment he smelled something. He couldn't see what he looked like. But he says it happened once he began to give brachas. Now, let me ask you another question that's going to make you all very depressed, like I've done tonight on a number of occasions, which I hate doing. It's not the point. It happens to me too. Did you ever start blessing your child and were blown away by your own brachas? I'm sure Michal was blown away by his own brachas all the time. We have a friend. We have a friend from the Moshav, Michal Golem, passed away. That's going to be 4 years.
A year or two, but no. More recently, I think.
It'll be 3 years this Adar, I think.
Huh.
Maybe even more. Yeah. Feels like 3,000 years. That's the truth. Michal was the master. You knew Michal. Michal was the master blesser on the Moshav. Basically, you think like, we get Mishaberachs here.
They flowed from him. They just flowed.
Michal, every time you got an Aliyah, Michal would give you a Mishaberach, and then he would, say, Mishaberach was, it's true that I never understood what he was saying, his Hebrew. I never understood what he was saying. But then he would stop, and then he would say, and I bless you, Holy Kohen. And sometimes he would go on for 10 minutes.
Too deep.
In shul.
Too deep.
One time he gave me a bracha in front of everyone. I was so like embarrassed because I thought everyone heard what I was hearing, right? So what was I hearing? He said to me, he was giving me a whole bracha on basically getting my act together and getting married. But the way he said it was, can you hear, Holy Kohen? It might have been Parshas Toldot falling. He's like, can you hear, Holy Kohen? Did you ever have enough guts to go inside and hear the voices of your children screaming, let us out. Let us out. I'm tripping. I'm in shul. I feel like everyone hears what I'm hearing, right? And he's going for it, but I'm telling you, there's no way in the world that he felt like he was the balabait of those brachas. He was just a tzinor.
Yeah.
He was just a conduit. He was just a conduit. So I'm talking like that doesn't have to happen that intense with your children, but on a certain level, just to go to that place of, okay, I'm going to say the words that were given to, Yaakov blessing, his children, the Kohanim would bless, v'chulei, but like, Ribono Shel Olam, only you know what they really need, right? And then listening to your child, looking at them, seeing them, like finally Yitzchak saw Yaakov, even though he couldn't even see, but he saw, he sensed it. And then certain brachas started coming out of him, and that's when he knew.
Is that
Yaakov.
sight insight?
Huh?
Is that sight insight?
Of course. And if you didn't have it,
Sight.
insight. If you didn't have it, Hashem wouldn't have given you children. Meaning, what does Hashem give you children for? To not have the ability to go deeper on the shoresh when you're connected in your shoresh? Of course it is. Of course it is. Okay, let's go
You're
for
saying what he suddenly became the tzinor.
But I'm saying the point is he realized it while the brachas started flowing from him. It's not like he said, "Oh wow, Yaakov, you're Tiferet, you're Gan Eden. Let me say a deep bracha now." No. That just opened him up and cracked him open to now give much deeper brachas. Let's look inside. So when Yaakov walked, the second line, the Divrei Chaim, that's Reb Chaim's answer, Reb Chaim Halbershtam. The Divrei Chaim says that when Yaakov walked in, Yitzchak had no idea how deep it is to bless your child. At that, he had no idea. I'm sure he gave brachas to Yaakov and Esav over the years. He just had no idea how deep the privilege really is. However much Yitzchak thought it was deep to bless a child, when Yaakov walked in, it was something else. The whole time, he was preparing himself to bless Esav, right? But when he heard Yaakov walking in, Yaakov opened gates in Yitzchak's heart which reached the deepest nekudas of Yitzchak. It was this kind of holiness which Yitzchak never felt. And this is when Kedushas HaShoresh was given over. You see what it is? It was aroused from his own child. Now look what he says here. This is amazing. Yitzchak, Avinu, was the one who was lying on the altar. Can anyone feel more godly than that? And yet what? It doesn't compare to 1 second of what he felt when Yaakov walked in to receive his brachas. You see what he says here? We think about high moments in Yitzchak Avinu's life. And we always go to the Akedah, saying when he was willing to die al Kiddush Hashem, there's no higher moment in his life, and he, so to speak, became one with Gan Eden and was already living in some higher world. Right? Here we're saying, if I could be so bold to say such a thing, that as much as in our language, the highest thing is that you're willing to be sacrificed al Kiddush Hashem, this is a clear definition of being willing to be alive al Kiddush Hashem. And what does it mean to be alive al Kiddush Hashem? To humble yourself in front of the gifts that are given to you. Yitzchak Avinu reaches higher spiritual level the moment that Yaakov walks into that room than even when he was on the Akedah. Why? Because what brought Yitzchak to the Kedusha that he got to on the Akedah? His father. What's bringing him to this place? His son. His son. Yitzchak didn't even know what he was blessing because the blessing was just coming through him. Through him. Not from him. Through him. It was not even Yitzchak blessing. It was clear that God was putting the words into his mouth. So the Zohar HaKadosh says, Yaakov is standing before Yitzchak, and suddenly Yitzchak's heart was so open. Yitzchak is surprised. He never dreamt that this is the way to bless a child. I didn't know it was so deep. I didn't know it was so deep. All I have to say is good luck this Friday night to all of you. That's all I have to say.
No, it says we don't have to do anything. It's just going to
come through.
Just like Michael.
Yeah, just through you. Anyway, this is like there's so much more to say here. It's very hard for me to like even pretend that it's possible to say in summary or in short, this is what this shir is. But if I had to go back to the beginning of shir, how we began this whole thing, this whole direction, is that if someone would ask us, what would you see as a milestone in your life, and you want it to be real, you would for sure say that I was a conscious parent and I did everything I could for my children. Anyone would hopefully choose to say that statement. But this shir kind of gives us a glimpse into what that really means. And that really means that it's more, it takes more than whatever you learn and whatever you think is right. It takes this insight and this trust and this place of bittul and shiflut and humility to go to the place that, a taste of what Yitzchak did, a taste of what Yaakov was dragging out of Yitzchak, and essentially, really, if you think about it, the places that our kids drag out of us. All the moments we became people we never dreamed we could have become if it wasn't for what our children made us go through, for good or for bad. That's when we become ourselves the most. It's not like we go through a deep thing with our child, they make us really, really rise to the occasion, and then it's like, oh no, that wasn't really us. No, that was really you, and they brought that out of you. They brought that out of you. That's the Kedushas HaAvos, that's Kedushas HaShoresh. That's Kedushas HaShoresh, and that bracha, Rivka, and who knew this? Who knew that this had to happen? Leave it to the Shekhinah. Rivka knew. Rivka knew this had to happen. Rivka Imenu. So to explain the beginning, how Esav's involvement blocked Kedushas HaShoresh from giving over, I have no idea how anybody could explain how. But now we see later on how it needed to come out in a different way. Because the way that it came out later gives us the ability to look at our children in a completely different light. That as much as we think our job in life is to give them Kedushas HaShoresh, we always hopefully come to certain moments in life when we realize it was them who revealed to us what Kedushas HaShoresh really is. Maybe that's what it means, that one of the signs of Mashiach is V'heshiv lev avos al banim v'lev banim al avosam, that it goes back, it has to go back and forth. It has to go back. You know what? This Torah was given over in the house of the person that wrote this song. So V'hinei anochi sholeach lachem esei hanavi Hinei anochi sholeach lachem esei hanavi Yeah. Yep. A lot of birthdays.
I'm still working on what you said at the beginning of whether we should help our children understand whether it's the shoresh or the avoda. Because I feel like if we can tell our kids that they have that shoresh, that there's that kedusha that they have, that even if you foul up, even if you do something wrong, you are.
Yeah.
It's a confidence.
But how amazing it is when they do that to you.
Wait till you have grandchildren.
The grandchildren do it.
That's
This is the parsha. This is what it is. This is the
Father has to
parsha.
develop.
Yeah.
Takes like till 28 till the father develops for that awareness.
We should have many. We should have long generations, long, big families that continue. Bezrat
I
Hashem
just had my
forever.
first grandson's bar
Oh, right, Mazel Tov.
mitzvah.
Matanya.
It was unbelievable. You just can't even
Grandson's
get
bar
your
mitzvah.
mind around it. So much, so much
You'll be walking into the chuppah and then before you know
No
it,
joke.
probably like in 5 years.
Yeah.
This